Právě sedím před svou bývalou základní školou, kam jsem 9 let chodil. Musím říct, že to bylo 9 let, kdy jsem se poměrně hodně trápil, protože jsem byl vždycky hodně aktivní, měl jsem jako poměrně velkou iniciativu a kladl jsem hodně otázek a ten systém mě za to spíš trestal, než aby mě za to odměňoval a pomáhal mi. Potom jsem naštěstí na 2 roky vypadnul do Spojených států, kde mě konečně škola začala bavit a teď už několik let se vlastně živím tím, že pomáhám studentům, který se trápí úplně stejně v tom systému, jako jsem se trápil já, a vysíláme je skrze vzdělávací skupinu, kterou jsem spolu založil na jedné z nejlepších škol v Kanadě, ve Spojených státech. A taky teď vlastně nově provozujeme 2 soukromé střední školy v Praze. A v posledním roce jsme se hodně inspirovali finským vzdělávacím systémem, který nás velmi oslovil, a protože jsme v podstatě nikde nenašli žádnou českou reportáž, žádný dokument nebo žádnou českou studii o tom, jak to tam doopravdy chodí, tak aby se z ní mohla inspirovat veřejnost a nejen my, tak jsme se rozhodli, že do toho Finska pojedeme a že teda zjistíme na vlastní oči, jak to tam chodí. Tak jsme ve Finsku, pojedeme se podívat do Tusuly, což je takový malý region, kde je asi 18 škol a zhruba 40-50 minut autobusem od Helsinek. Tam se podíváme do jedné školy v takovém malém městečku, který má asi 20 000 obyvatel. Promluvíme si s tamním ředitelem a s tamními učiteli o tom, vlastně jak vedou studenty, jaký mají systém na té škole, jak to tam vůbec funguje. Potom budeme mít rozhovor s koordinátorem vládním v tom regionu, v Tusule, který tam vlastně se svým týmem koordinuje vzdělávací metody a procesy na těch tamních školách. A ještě budeme vlastně na Helsinské univerzitě s tamním rektorem, který tam už dlouhou dobu řídí vzdělávání nových učitelů, a popovídáme se s ním o tom, jak tam ty učitele připravují, jaký vůbec jako typ člověka by měl na ty učitele chodit, a doufáme, že tohle nám dá nějaký obrázek o tom, proč je Finsko pokládáno za nejlepší vzdělávací systém na světě s nejlepšími učiteli. Jsme na Pajlan koulu, což je v podstatě vesnická škola. Asi mám pocit, kolik 40-50 minut od Helsinek. Tak jsem zvědav, úplně to nevypadá jako vesnická škola, který známe z Česka, tak uvidíme.
My name is Petri Närhinen, I'm principal in this school in Tuusula here.
Wonderful.
And I'm Terhi Leislahti. I'm a teacher in this classroom, 3rd grade teacher.
Okay, wonderful. There's a lot of information going on about the Finnish education on the internet, and one of them is that teachers actually have, let's say, one class, one group of kids from 1st grade to 5th grade. Is it correct, or?
It's not always like that.
Okay.
It depends on the school, teacher. We can choose.
Yeah. And your classroom or your kids, you have them from the 1st grade,
Yes.
and you teach them. Do you teach any other group of kids or just them?
One group.
Okay.
That
Just
also depends.
Yeah.
Some of us are interested in music or English or something special,
Yeah.
and then they can teach other groups also.
Wonderful. So I guess the teacher should be able to teach most of the time a lot of things from
Yes.
a lot of different subjects. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Does it happen that parents are trying to influence what you're doing at school? Does it happen often, or
Not often.
Yeah.
not
No.
often?
No, it happens,
Mhm.
but it's very rare.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
They trust us, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly they trust us,
Yeah.
and I think we are more like working together with parents. It's not someone is higher
Yeah.
or lower. We are together.
So it's about trust.
Yeah.
It's about trust.
Okay,
Yes.
that's very important. How much, as a teacher and a principal, how much of your work needs to adapt every year or every couple of years to different measures and different changes from the Ministry of Education and so on? Do you have to follow a lot of that, or you're basically sort of independent and you can do what you feel is the best for the kids?
I think the main point in Finnish school is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we have the government. They give us the main things what we have to teach, or what the children have to learn. But the main thing is the teachers are free. The teachers have their own strengths,
Mm-hmm.
and also the children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important that you can use own strengths, for teaching and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think, for example, my job is give the possibilities to teachers to teach, and the freedom is the main point, I think.
Mm-hmm. Do you have inspections or something like that?
No,
I don't remember.
No inspections from government.
no.
It used to be
30
many
30
years
years
ago.
Okay.
30 years ago, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's the problem with Czech education, that everybody, or the government and parents also, which is interesting, they feel like we need to control schools.
Yeah.
We need to measure everything.
Yeah.
That's why we have so much standardized testing and so on, because they need the number for every student from the test, and they can say, okay, he is 75%, he is 85%.
Yeah.
You have a totally opposite approach here, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a problem if you think so. You have to measure all the time. You don't trust the child.
Yeah.
You
And
don't
teacher.
trust and teacher.
Yeah.
But we do trust that the child is the one who is learning.
Mm-hmm.
They learn
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
differently and in various ways, but they do learn.
Mm-hmm.
And the children, they have to have a choice, how they have learned something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of people, not most of, some people, they learn best for just reading.
Yeah.
That's reading. Some other children, they learn best, for example, watching,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
hearing,
Yeah.
and doing with hands.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to give all these possibilities
Yeah.
for the children.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. How do the teachers here, or how do you prepare for a lesson?
It takes several hours. We do it together with my co-worker here,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk a lot.
Mhm.
We dream a lot, and then I go home, put my kids to sleep, and start working.
Okay, wonderful.
Mm.
So for one day at school, one day teaching, you need several hours to
Yes.
prepare.
Actually, our system is now a bit different,
Mhm.
so we are planning the whole week,
Okay.
not an hour by hour.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And how do the other teachers do the same thing? And do you collaborate often with other teachers?
Yeah. For example, here we have our teachers' teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 teachers in every team. It's 4 teachers,
Mhm.
and they planning together what they are doing this week or next week or whatever. And it's very important that the teachers are never alone
Yeah.
with teaching and being here in school.
Mhm.
How is it with teachers? Every teacher is here like from morning to late afternoon, or
About.
really? Yeah, because in our system, teachers, they might be like, okay, so on Tuesday I teach at 11, at 1 and 2, then they go home and they come
Okay.
at 11 and so on, right? And they prepare at home of course. But the problem is that they don't collaborate them, you know, with other teachers.
Yeah.
So, and some teachers don't even see each other for, I don't know, a month or something like that. So this,
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a very interesting system. How do you work together with other teachers on feedback, on some ideas about improving your teaching methods and so on? Are there sometimes teachers present in your classroom when you're teaching, or?
No, everybody's having their own classes, so it's kind of difficult to organize. But we do talk a lot in teachers' room, or we call each other, and we have meetings once a month, the whole school, and every week we gather with our team. It's 3rd and 4th grade.
How many teachers are there here in the school?
12.
12 teachers.
12 and 2 special teachers and the principal.
Okay, so you have 3 groups of teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. How much do you test your students, or because the problem that we see with big tests is that if you know as a teacher and as a student that 2 months from now you have a big test, you will spend those 2 months doing all the research and learning for the test, but you will be very stressed about it, so you will not be doing anything else, right? How much of the big testing you have here?
In elementary school here.
Not big testing at
big
all.
test at all. Yeah.
Then do you give grades to students? Do you measure them, or how do you measure them?
It changed this year. Is it now 5th grade?
Yeah.
Having
No, 6th.
grades. 6th.
6th.
They are having numbers.
Until 6th grade, you have
Yeah.
no
But
grades.
we do have report cards.
Yeah.
But it's like, are you successing very good, good?
And here you need some practice. Yeah.
So it's a like commentary on it's a comment on what they can do better and what they're good at and so on.
Yeah.
What if I told you that some, let's say, chemistry teachers in our country say that if children don't memorize the periodic table, they have to fail the chemistry class?
Oh dear.
You joke.
It's
bad joke.
Yeah, it's not like this here.
No. Because the times change.
Yeah.
We do have internet and books. We can search for information anyway. It's more important to teach how to find some information for chemistry or anything.
The best question in the school is why, not what. Because, for example, you don't have any use if you know that Aarhus is the 2nd biggest town in Denmark. It's much important know why it's so big, and the children, they are thinking why it's so big. Okay, they have sea. They have the boat. They are the harbors there, and they have also very good connection to other Europe, and that's why they have a very good area around the city. There are many factories, and that's why it could be. It's possible to be so big city, and why it's much better than what.
Onko kysymys? Ei.
Mä otan puolelta tässä. Täältä puolelta. Kuka hakee?
Je 9:45, v 9 hodin začalo vyučování a první den, co učitelé udělali, bylo, že dětem dali na výběr, co chcou dnes studovat. Takže jim dali něco, čemu se říká menu, kde měli vlastně několik možností, tak aby prostě strávili čas dneska tím, co je baví.
This is called menu, and children choose what they do. This is a special menu because it's only for today. Normally it's for a week. They do have mathematics or reading, English, arts, exercise, everything we have. And then children choose what they do. Some like mathematics, they do it many hours a day. Some children just choose it's 15 minutes and then they change. And we do have teaching once in a while, and then they continue choosing what they do.
Tohle je Markus, který dělá v Tusule místního koordinátora a v podstatě má pod sebou všechny školy, které v tomhle regionu jsou. Pomáhá učitelům a ředitelům při implementaci osnov, při práci na vzdělávacích metodách, formách výuky a tak podobně. Shodou okolností přijela dneska do školy pojízdná knihovna, což je v podstatě autobus plný knih a filmů, který si děti můžou zadarmo půjčit a který každý týden objíždí školy v regionu, tak aby děti měly snadný přístup ke knížkám. So kids can come here and watch a movie?
Yes. We go to the daycare centers and the nurses stay with the children 12 to 15 and they sit down here, they watch the movie and meanwhile the nurse takes the books back and takes the books and then after 15 minutes they go to the next book. Okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
25 same books if the third grade wants to read the same book, so teachers look what library has and library brings it here and they can have it for 2 weeks or something and then they go to another school where they can read that book also.
So you don't need every single school to buy many of the same books.
No.
You can just share it, right?
Yes.
That's very
the
smart.
idea.
Yeah. I can see like kids seeing the car and just running towards you.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of waves.
And I think this is more popular than the ice cream.
Yeah, probably in Finland.
Yeah.
That says a lot about you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We only do that with ice cream. How is it going, the educational reform, which is now, I think it's a first year now that you have nationally, or the educational Ministry of Education requires every school to do, or every class to do a project or phenomenon or theme or something like that. How is it going? How was there a problem with implementing that, or?
No, it has been that way for many years.
Okay.
But I think in our last curriculum there was also this phenomenal based learning and do project but there was so much these things that you had to teach that it was little hard to do. But we have done it, I think, this way many years. Of course, there are some things that have changed. For example, these. Of course, we have always tried to teach skills, but nowadays it's more important.
It's more important.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there is so much information in the world that it's set a bit aside that this is not so important, but the skills are more important. That's, I think, is the main thing.
Is it so, or what were the phases of? Where do you see the roots of the admiration for the Finnish educational system?
Well, I think why the Finnish educational system is so good is that we have equality. All the schools have the same curriculum, and it doesn't matter where you go, you get the same service. So you don't have to choose the school to get the good teaching. Then we have best teachers in the world. They have all master's degrees, and they study 5 years in universities, and they can decide quite freely how they do their work. And we don't have private schools at all. Only a few in big cities. And the schools have a lot of freedom to choose how they do the work, how they do.
So it's about trust, I would say.
Yes,
right?
yes, but because and it's about trust also for parents. They don't have to choose good school or bad school.
No.
Where they live, there is a good school, and it's a trust for us that we trust that the teachers do their work well. They motivate the children and use different kind of ways to teach, not just one one way, and
Okay.
I think those are really the basic ideas.
There is I think misunderstanding in our country about the Finnish teachers, and it's often been said that the teachers needs to be the best students. I heard Pasi Salberg, one of the most well-known educational experts from Finland, say that they did some research at the University of Helsinki, and it showed that 80% of the teachers were not in top 20% of students, but that they just chose people who have personality, who are able to motivate and so on. Is that correct?
Well, I think it is, because what do you need to be a good teacher? Of course, you have to have some kind of knowledge, good knowledge of the things that you teach, but then you have to be able to motivate, you have to be able to get everybody involved, and have good skills for dealing with kids, because what are the skills that we try to make them learn? It's not that what year happened this and this, it's also important, but there are these that they get along with each other, and they are motivated to learn, and they have skills to learn, because after 30 years we don't know what they do for living, what kind of jobs there is. But I think it's like that. A good student can be a good teacher, but also a student who doesn't succeed so well in school can be a really good teacher.
Podle mě největší problém českého školství, těch problémů je teda plno, ale kdybych měl jako jeden zmínit, tak je to především to, že ti lidé, kteří to školství řídí a definují tu vizi, i když ona vlastně žádná vize není od revoluce, tak nikdy třeba si nevyrazili tady jako k jezeru do Finska na dovolenou, na prodloužený víkend a nezašli si mimochodem přitom třeba do nějaké školy popovídat si s nějakými učiteli, úředníky, lidmi na ministerstvu školství a tak dále. Jo? Přitom prostě z Prahy je to letadlem 2 hodiny, není ani potřeba tam stavit jako vládní speciál, že jo, to zvládne každej. Takže to je podle mě velká chyba. Jako nemluví o tom, že jak by se s nima ty lidi dorozuměli, jo? Protože ve Finsku všichni mluví anglicky, ale nemluví česky. Problém je v tom, že prostě ty lidi, kteří to školství řídí, taky neumí anglicky. Nebo já jsem se aspoň s nikým takovým v podstatě nesetkal. Takže to je jako velký problém, že my nejsme schopni a nikdy jsme nebyli schopni se podívat za hranice naší země a podívat se na to, jak některé ty reformy vůbec proběhly ve světě. Finsko bylo před 40 lety naprosto chudou agrární zemědělskou zemí. A protože politici a celá společnost věděli, že s tím musí něco udělat, tak se sešli a našli prostě kompromis a našli východisko. A to bylo to, že definovali prostě vzdělávací reformu, která bude decentralizovaná, která povede k tomu, že prostě dají učitelům velkou svobodu, dají svobodu ředitelům škol, školám samotným, aby vzdělávali ty děti tak, jak potřebují, protože ne ministr školství, který je v Helsinkách, respektive u nás v Praze, ale ti učitelé a ti ředitelé těch škol ty děti znají nejlíp. Takže navrhl bych, aby jsme se prostě inspirovali, aby příští vláda, která zasedne, příští ministr školství strávil první měsíc tím, že objede Norsko, Finsko, Estonsko, bude se tam ptát, jak to dělají, možná si zaletí i do Kanady a potom se z toho inspirujeme a prostě prosadíme reformu, která tu zemi někam posune, protože prostě nechceme být navždy jenom levnou montovnou, že jo. Právě jsme na cestě na Helsinskou univerzitu, jejíž pedagogická fakulta je pokládána za nejlepší v zemi a budeme se bavit s tamním děkanem o tom, jak vybrat a vychovat nejlepší učitele. How do you choose teachers at the University of Helsinki to your program? Because I saw an interview with Pasi Salberg, one of the most known Finnish educational experts, and he was saying that you accept, I would say, a couple of hundred, and about 1,500 maybe apply. So you accept a small portion of them.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Just for example, in our primary teacher education, there are 3,000 who are applying, and we take 100. So it is one of the most competitive area in our university. So our university is 400 years old, traditional research university, among the best 100 universities in the whole world. Still, teacher education here is one of the more appreciated and most challenging to come in. So we are very happy to select the best candidates for teacher education. And that's why the quality of teachers in Finland is very high, because the students are the most brightest and most willing to study and work as a teacher.
A lot of the time that they spend here in the university, they also spend in practice, actually going to schools, seeing how experienced teachers are teaching, and so on.
There are many ways how to interact with practice. In many courses there could be some kind of exercises they go for a while for the classroom, or we use just video recordings. And then there is the research. The classroom research is important. They are become familiar with the teaching and learning in the classroom through research activities. Understand more deeply what's happening in the classroom, what students are thinking, learning, and how to motivate them, and this type of topics. And finally, they are also doing the traditional teaching practice. It is 1/3 of the year they are having the practice. It's not so much, but there is a high quality in this practice. There are very well educated mentor teachers who are supervising the teaching practice.
Za chvíli budeme odjíždět z Finska a musím říct, že to bylo jako velmi přínosné. Určitě bych byl proto, aby všichni lidé, kteří aspirují na post ministra školství, se sem jeli aspoň povinně na týden nebo na 2 podívat a udělat si túru po školách a promluvit si s místními experty, úředníky, kteří se tomu školství věnují, učiteli, řediteli škol a tak dále. To, co je prostě velmi zajímavé, je to, že oni mají skutečně jako ve středobodu toho vzdělávacího systému toho studenta. Ale mají ho tam v tom smyslu, že oni prostě si jsou vědomi toho, že nějaké memorování a drillování informací, tak aby studenti byli chodící encyklopedie, fungovalo třeba právě před těmi 40 lety, kdy s tou reformou začali. A teďka i vlastně to národní kurikulum a to kurikulární reforma má vést k tomu, což už se teda ku podivu na většině těch finských škol dělo několik let dozadu, že budou prostě vyučovat způsobem, který je víc zaměřen na právě získání kompetencí, schopností a vůbec naučení se učit. K tomu, abyste tohohle dosáhli, tak musíte mít obrovskou volnost jako učitele, jako ředitelé škol. Musíte mít za sebou poměrně hodně lidí a profesionálů, kteří tomu rozumí a budou vám pomáhat. Musíte mít samozřejmě na to politickou vůli, protože ta tady je přítomná, a musíte na to mít skvělý učitele. To, co jsme tady prostě zjistili, je to, že tady se učiteli nestávají lidi, co mají samý jedničky, a lidi, kterým my říkáme šprti, což je v podstatě takový narrativ v České republice, že nejlepšími učiteli nebo na učitele by měli chodit i nejlepší studenti. Vůbec to tak tady není. Tady chodí na učitele lidi, kteří umí kolaborovat v týmu, kteří umí motivovat, kteří dokážou být svým způsobem taky trošku herci, což je v podstatě úplně jakoby ve všem opačný přístup, než máme my v Česku. Když si poslechnete ty potenciální kandidáty na ministry školství, tak zjistíte, že oni by chtěli pořád centralizovat, všechno prostě zkoušet, pořád měřit, a tady to prostě funguje úplně naopak. Učitelé mají absolutní volnost, stejně jako ředitelé, nechodí vůbec žádný inspekce, a v podstatě tím, že oni vyberou skutečně dobré typy lidí na to, aby se stali učiteli, dají jim 5letý program, který jim pomůže prostě poznat svoje slabé a silné stránky, tak potom v tom systému budou mít lidi, kteří umí s těmi dětmi skvěle pracovat. A to je úplně základ. Jo? A oni s tím začali před 40 lety. Takže je prostě otázka, jestli my jsme natolik vyspělí a racionální a rozumní, aby jsme si řekli, že uděláme nějaký prostě politický konsenzus, vypracujeme nějaký plán, možná se inspirujeme tady, ale bude nám jasný to, že výsledky přijdou až třeba za 20 let. Jo, protože konec konců nedělá ty ministři, ti politici a my všichni to neděláme pro sebe, ale děláme to pro lidi, kteří teďka chodí třeba do první a do druhé třídy a aby Česká republika nebyla prostě na pořád chudou východoevropskou postkomunistickou montovnou, tak se tomu Finsku prostě potřebujeme přiblížit.